Welcome back, curious souls. You might notice that we are not in the library today. Nope, today we're at the movies, but not for a new release or an old classic. Today, we're watching the highlights of our own incredible journey together through South Asia's rich spiritual landscape. We've explored ancient temples, meditated in quiet monasteries, and shared meals in bustling gurdwaras. We've traced the spread of religions across the continent and took a field trip together to the Museum of Religious Art. Let's take a look back at some of the most important moments and see if we can draw out some of the key patterns and unique differences that we've seen so far. So, go grab some popcorn and make sure you've got your guided viewing handy. Our journey began here in the Indian subcontinent, where all four religions originated. The rise of kingdoms and the spread of ancient Vedic traditions laid the foundation for Hinduism, perhaps the oldest world religion. As time passed, new spiritual movements began to rise. Buddhism was born. It offered a different path to enlightenment through the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, now known as the Buddha. Around the same time, Jainism kept many of the same core ideas as Hinduism, but placed a stronger emphasis on ahimsa, or non-violence. Centuries later, Sikhism and its gurus sought to bring people together and address the spiritual and social issues of its time, like the unequal caste system. Even though these religions are different, they are connected and share common cultural ideas. Together, they have shaped the rich spiritual traditions of South Asian society. Next, let's examine the beliefs of these religions. Before we start, pause the video and record as many details as you can remember about the beliefs of the four South Asian religions in your guided viewing. When you come back, feel free to add to what you've got as we go along. First, let's explore deities. Hinduism and Sikhism both include a belief in deities, but they approach it differently. Hinduism is often seen as polytheistic, with gods like Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. However, some worshippers view all these deities as manifestations of a single divine reality called Brahman, making it more monotheistic. Sikhism is more clearly monotheistic. Sikhs believe in one eternal, formless God who is present within everyone. Buddhism and Jainism take a different path. Neither focuses on a creator god. In Buddhism, the emphasis is on self-liberation through understanding reality. Figures like the Buddha and bodhisattvas serve as guides rather than gods. Similarly, Jainism also does not focus on a supreme deity, but its followers do revere Tirthankars, who are seen as spiritual guides, much like the bodhisattvas. Next, let's explore two shared beliefs. Samsara, or the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, is a common thread. Hinduism introduced this concept. Buddhism built upon this idea, but focuses on breaking free from samsara through personal enlightenment. Jainism also emphasizes liberation from samsara with a strong focus on ahimsa, or non-violence, as a way to purify the soul. In Sikhism, samsara is acknowledged, but the emphasis is on achieving unity with God. Hinduism also first introduced the idea of Maya, but it has been adopted by all 4 religions. Maya is an illusion that affects our perception of ourselves and our reality. This causes us to see ourselves as separate from everyone and everything else and pursue selfish pursuits and attachments. Each of these religions teaches that seeing beyond this illusion is key to spiritual liberation. All of these beliefs guide how people practice their faith every day. Our next segment looks back at religious practices. What practices do you remember for each religion? Pause and record as many unique practices as you can think of. Let's roll the film. In Hinduism, worship takes many forms, but the most common practice is puja, an offering of devotion to the gods. Puja is performed in temples as well as in homes like sunitas. Meditation and reciting mantras are also popular practices. Buddhism focuses on meditation. Chanting sacred scriptures or mantras can also play a key role in Buddhist worship, as practitioners focus on cultivating the qualities of wisdom, compassion, and mindfulness. Just like Hindus, Jains perform puja by honoring the Tirthankaras, not as gods, but as spiritual guides that they wish to imitate. In Sikhism, worship centers around the Guru Granth Sahib, the sacred scripture. Worship in the Gurdwara revolves recitation of these teachings, singing devotional hymns, and offering prayers to God. What about similarities? Well, despite their different approaches, all 4 traditions share common themes in worship. Acts of prayer or meditation, reciting sacred texts or mantras, and making offerings are central to their worship practices. Now, think about how each religion guides its followers in their daily lives. These ethical guidelines tell followers what is right and wrong behavior. What similarities can you think of in these guidelines? Record it in your guided viewing. Well, while they differ in approach, all emphasize kindness and the impact of actions on the well-being of others. All 4 religions share the idea that everyone has certain duties in life. This concept of dharma varies slightly between the faiths. For Hindus, it involves fulfilling one's responsibilities according to their role in society. Remember this? These might be considered your responsibilities or your dharma as a teenage student. Karma reinforces the idea of dharma by emphasizing that every action has consequences. What about Buddhism? This wheel of dharma represents the Eightfold Path. This path offers Buddhists a practical guide to ethical and compassionate behavior, aligning with one's duty to live righteously. It includes guidelines not only for actions such as work and speech, but also for cultivating proper thinking and mindfulness, all of which help Buddhists fulfill their moral obligations and move closer to achieving nirvana. For Jains, fulfilling one's dharma means living a life of non-violence and integrity. This influences every aspect of their lives, from their vegetarian diet to environmentally friendly farming methods and personal interactions. Sikhs see dharma as living truthfully, serving others, and maintaining justice. 2 key concepts guide everyday behavior: earning an honest living and sharing with others. Sikhs are also committed to upholding equality, as evidenced by their naming practices, which remove any caste identification. In all 4 religions, ethical guidelines provide followers with a moral framework for their daily lives, focusing on compassion, duty, and the impact of their actions on others. And there you have it, the highlights of our incredible journey through South Asia's spiritual landscape. If you need to review any section of the highlight reel, take a moment to do so now. And now it's time to return to our Library of Faith and prepare for our next adventure. As we close this chapter, we're about to step into a new one that will take us further east to explore the rich spiritual traditions of East Asia. So, pack your curiosity and get ready because our journey continues.